I just received an answer regarding my last video about my first choice being Lionel Messi as central forward, and the answer is actually straight to the point because it is definitely a great choice about having Messi as a central forward because Messi used to play as a true central forward. I remember that when Guardiola played him, even before the match against Real Madrid, I believe it was a match against Mallorca, Messi used to play the essential role, the essential position of the center forward. What is a true center forward? Is it the position which reflects the main goal scorer? No, definitely not. It could be, however, the the true aspect, the true role of the center forward is to be the attack leader. It doesn't even matter if the center forward scores 50 goals, 60 goals in a season, it doesn't matter. He is the attack leader. People, as the time passed, actually believe that the center forward is the player to have less technique than others. However, he is still able to score goals. That's definitely not true. Back in the day, in the 19th century, the center forward, and I'm gonna give some instance about this. John Guro, he was never a rusher. He was a player who had exceptional technique, tactical knowledge, and he could scam plays and organize each attack formation for his own side. Therefore, Jimmy Ross, I believe, was the first player. He was the right side forward of the Old Preston North End Football Club to score 8,000 goals. And if we take into account this amount, many of these goals were organized by John Goodall, and he was the center forward of the side. Nando Hirekuti, who many people believe that he was the first false nine, there's no false nine. False nine isn't a position. False nine isn't a position. It's a role regarding the center forward. Well, a position is a position. A role is a role. I believe I compared Stanley Matthews with Messi. I don't actually remember if I did. However, if I did so, Stanley Matthews was a he was also a right side forward. However, he was mainly a right winger. Messi, when the MSN trio was formed, he was a right winger who used to centralize, to scheme the plays, to organize the plays. He was a different type of right winger. However, Matthews, just like Garincha, they used to play much more to the side of the field. If we can, if we can compare to Messi, it's the same position. However, it's a different role, and it doesn't even matter if it is a a role which the manager gave, or if it is a future regarding the player, it's the same position. However, players have different roles because you cannot play the same trajectory, if we can say, in a position. No, people have different different ways to play in a single position. the same occurs with the center forward back in the day. I have read before that the first center forward to actually be able to dribble the entire defensive system of the opponent was Ronaldo. Well, that's actually absurd because Jimmy Brown in the FA Cup final, I believe it was in '86. Yeah, it was before Aston Villa conquered their first FA Cup in '87 in the 19th century. He was a central forward who could dribble he could dribble any defensive system. It's actually one of the best goals scored in a single final. I do believe that his goal, I do believe because I don't actually remember exactly, but his goal gave the title to Blackburn Rovers when they had this outstanding side which won three cups in a row. He was a central. Jimmy Brown was a central forward who could dribble the entire defensive system. However, John Goodall could be a central forward more comparable to Messi because he could score goals and he could organize scheme the plays. Gio Smith was never really a goal scorer. He was much closer to Pilat or Hirekuti, although Hirekuti actually managed to be the goal scorer of Nemzeti Bajnokság, the first class, ONS. But he was never really a goal scorer. However, he was a central forward. I don't actually know why people tend to believe that the central forward is the one who actually score goals. And this actually mixes with some features of old players. For instance, who was the central forward of the great Hungarian side, Aranik Sapat, which translates to from the Hungarian to English is the golden team. Who was the center forward? It was Hirekuti. However, Puskás, who was the left inside forward, he was never the center forward for his side. Or Kocsis in Hungarian Kochi, he was never the main, he was never the center forward of the side. He was the main scorer, but he was the right inside forward. And people actually mix these features regarding the being the goal scorer and the center forward. And many people actually believe that the center forward was Kochi because he had less technique than Hirekuti and then Puskás, and he was the main goal scorer of the side. I mean, being the goal scorer of the World Cup in Switzerland, and that's actually incredible. That's actually incredible. And when I read today's discussions about the central forward position, many people say that the false nine, which isn't even a position, it's just a role regarding the central forward, it is a second striker. Well, how is it a second striker? I mean, if you play 4-3-3, you have a right winger, a left winger, and the centralized player. So, how is this player a second striker if there is not even the first striker centralized? This doesn't even make any sense. And back in the day, how could a player like John Goodall be a second striker? How is he a second striker? There were three centralized players, five forwards, the right winger, right inside forward, the center forward, the left inside forward, the left winger. This doesn't even make any sense, and that's actually impressive because people managed to create this specific role. I mean, not role, but is this specific term regarding the center forward, the false nine. how is how is a player who can scam each play, organize the plays, be a false nine? No, he's a true nine. He's just different. He is a player who doesn't even score goals compared to, I don't know, if you compare Gio Smith with Dixie Dean, which I have in my own website a comparison by the great James Cadden. Gio Smith and Dixie Dean, they are true different, completely different center forwards. One used to scam goals for others, precisely when Joe Smith used to play alongside Steve Bloomer. Dixie Dean used to score the goals. That's just a different feature of the player. It's not a different position, it's the same position. It's the same position. That's actually impressive. I see many other journalists and historians, let's say historians, saying that the role of the inside forward was created by Messi, and some say by Totti, and some say by Hirekuti, and some others used to talk about Schindler. No, the center forward position, which had this role regarding creation, used to be played since association football was created. And the withdrawal center forward, for instance, Copa, who used to play a little bit behind Fontaine, Winiewski, and the other forwards, he is to be compared to what a attacking midfielder is today because he was withdrawn. Piendibini, if we take a look, he used to play as a center forward and a little bit behind Dacau and Carlos Scaroni, the brother of Hector Scaroni, sometimes. But the standard formation of the Uruguayan, I was about to say Hungarian side, but sorry, the Uruguayan side used to play a little bit behind, so he could be compared to the attacking midfielder. However, back in the day, he was still mentioned as a central forward. Just like Di Stefano was the central forward of Real Madrid, just like Johan Cruyff, and the pronunciation is actually correct, used to play, used to reach his peak as a central forward. Hirekuti reached his peak as a central forward. Pilat the same. And Messi, I do believe, I mean, not that I do believe, I saw Messi play. And the best Messi that I ever saw was when he was centralized alongside Villa and Pedro, and he was a center forward. That's actually interesting how people, because of some timeline change, as I can say, because regarding time, people created these terms. The false nine, the striker was even mentioned back in the day. I remember that I read a book saying that some new terms were created in the 50s. Striker was one of them. Striker, what is a striker? The striker is a forward. What is a second forward? The second forward is a forward. It could be a inside forward. Everything resumes to the first positions of the association game. If you say a player is a second is a second striker, a second forward. He is inside forward. It's simple as that. If you say a player is a false nine, he's a center forward. If you say a player is a winger, he is a outside forward. And that's something which when I read this comment, the comment is from Pitts, who mentions Saki about Messi as the modern number nine. And he says, and finishing, he says, it is a great choice to consider him center forward, unlike conventional wisdom. Yeah, it is definitely a great choice, not because it is my choice, but because it is the truth. Messi was a outstanding center forward, and I'm gonna add some Argentine pepper about this because Maradona, when he was under the management of Menotti, who used to play with Pelé in '68, Menotti played Maradona as a central forward while he was coaching Barcelona, while he was coaching Argentina. He used to play Maradona as a nine, and he was the LPB was an outstanding center forward. People doesn't even have this idea that he was a great center forward. If you take a look when Bilhardo played Valdano and Maradona, you will see that Maradona was actually positioned above, way more closer to the opponent side than Valdano. It is online. You can actually search for this. If you read the I mean it's actually official. If you read the main paper, I I do believe it is official. I do believe it was FIFA who made this. Maradona was positioned above Valdano. And Menotti in '86, Argentina was coached by Bilhardo. However, when Maradona was under the management of Menotti, he used to play as a center forward. And Menotti, as you can read in the notes, the notes page in ARFSH, there is a mention that Menotti said that Maradona was much better. I mean, not much better, but he used to select Maradona as a center forward. And it is almost the same what Guardiola back in the day was doing to Messi. However, of course, Maradona used to complete the pitch to the more likely to the left side because he used to be a more a player who could fulfill the two sides and the center of the field. Messi was much more selected to, I mean, not much more selected, but because of his features, of his characteristics, he was placed wandering more to the right inside forward of the side or the right winger. Maradona used to fulfill the attacking side much more than Messi. And if I could select another center forward to replace Messi, it would be Maradona. Definitely, it would be Maradona because the LPB, he was a center forward. Also, I must repeat, also, he was a center forward and one of the greats. Many people, although it was actually, what, 40 years ago, they don't even know that. But the mentions which Menotti said about Maradona are there. You can actually read this. Just search online. Search for newspaper Marca, Menotti, Maradona, Guardiola, Messi, and you will see this. It is online. It is actually on the notes. And actually, if I could, I have this online. I truly believe it is on notes. If I could select a forward line, a five, a five, a 5-4 formation. It would be Messi as a right winger, Moreno as a right inside forward, Maradona as a center forward. The left inside forward would be Sastre, and the left winger would be Pedernera. If I ignore Di Stefano, because many people tend to place him as a Spanish footballer. If I could place Di Stefano, of course, as a Argentine player, which I would place him, it was uh, an example which I gave. I would change my forward line. However, it's another mention which I would like to make regarding the center forward position. Many players who people truly believe were attacking midfielders actually were center forwards in most part or in a great part of their careers.